A state of mistrust between the partners for peace currently ruling Sudan puts the old north-south rivals back on a collision course. A major vote looms next year, and stalemate on progress to resolve election conditions remains in Parliament. With political leaders exchanging accusations as to who's to blame, can elections take place on time without reforming election laws? This is Inside Story. Hello, I'm Sahil Rahman. The future of Sudan stands on the edge of a precipice. Protesters set alight the offices of Sudan President al-Bashir's party in the south of the country after 3 southern senior politicians were arrested in the capital, Khartoum. The southern movement leaders defied a ban on demonstrations in the capital. It was a demonstration of the increasing mistrust between the Splm and the Ncp, raising tension between the partners for peace. Mohammed Val has the story.
This may not be an unfamiliar scene in Khartoum. A popular protest being quelled by security forces. But particularly unfamiliar about Monday's events was the involvement of a prominent figure in the Sudan People's Liberation Movement. SPLM's turf is the south. Before peace was signed, they used to communicate with the north only through arms. After the peace, SPLM became a ruling partner in Khartoum. Aside from their 28% share of power in the north, they've got autonomous rule in the south and 50% of the south's oil revenues for the running of that region. The north says that's already most of what's required for peace to hold. But the process has been riddled with serious hurdles. SPLM leaders say their ruling partners in the north, the National Congress Party, deny them a fair share of the oil revenues. The two sides disagree over border demarcation in the oil-rich region of Abyei. Their armies clashed in May 2008, a bloody incident that presented the first major test to the peace agreement. Another crisis broke out when SPLM rejected the results of a national census that should pave the way to the 2011 referendum about the future of the South. As the deadline of a landmark general election approaches, the shifting sands of politics are feared to add to the tension already building up. The National Congress is capitalizing on a perceived rapprochement with the new Obama administration. SPLM, on the other hand, think they can mobilize even the masses in Khartoum. They've coalesced with traditional opposition parties in the north in order to defeat the National Congress in the upcoming elections. And they've been pushing for a number of reforms through Parliament, including laws on national security, elections, border disputes and referendums. A new deadlock began in October when SPLM representatives boycotted the ongoing Parliament session in a push to have the said laws passed. But things got nasty when they decided to take to the streets.
We tell our brothers in the ruling National Congress, if they do not approve these laws within the next 2 weeks, the Sudanese people will take to the streets. On Monday, there will be 30 to 40,000 on the streets of Khartoum. The next day, there will be 100,000 and then 1 million.
It was perhaps this statement last Sunday that raised alarm within the National Congress.
This demonstration is totally unjustified. If there have been demands to the government for democratic transformation, they should take place inside the parliament, the highest platform to express political views.
It's unlikely the National Congress government will tolerate an SPLM-incited uprising in Khartoum. And if SPLM persists, the prospects may be grim for the peace agreement that has ended 22 years of bloody conflict in this country. Mohammed Val for Inside Story.
Well, joining me now are my guests in Khartoum, Mr. Rabi Abdul Atti. He's an advisor to Sudan's Ministry of Information. In London, Abdul Wahab El Effendi. He's a senior research fellow at the University of Westminster's Centre for the Study of Democracy. And in Bonn, Germany, Ali Al-Hajj Mohammed. He's Deputy Secretary General at the Popular Congress Party. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me on Inside Story. Dr. Atti, can I come to you first? A one-off demonstration that turned violent. Why did the authorities ban this particular march when the organisers said it was a peaceful protest?
Actually, as we know that our constitution is allowing peaceful processions, but these allied parties, they didn't follow the formalities, and they have only informed the police, but information of the police is not enough. They should follow the procedure, and they should get permission from the authorities, and the notification for police is not considered as a permission or a license for them to start their procession. That is why the police banned this procession and stopped the people from continuing of this procession yesterday.
Okay, Dr. Mohammed, in Bonn, you might disagree with that because according to some opposition leaders that spoke to Al Jazeera News at the demonstration, they had the permit.
Yeah, that is exactly what happened, and the Secretary General of the SPLM has already stated that several times, and he challenged all the people in Khartoum, and nobody was able to dismiss that challenge. So I think in that respect, this is not a major issue, and I think we have to come up about the real problems, real subjects, rather than this question of whether the permission was given or not given. I think that is we are missing the point. I think the most important point is that there are so many issues, like the freedom of the press, freedom of the gathering, the question of referendum and the laws about the referendum, the laws about the security, these are, and the question of Darfur. So these are very major issues. Why are they left for the last 2 weeks? Well, because indeed, the Parliament is going, or it is going to go into recess, you know, in about 2 weeks. So why are these major issues left to the last thing?
Well, we'll touch on all of these issues. We'll touch on all of these issues in the next half hour. If I come to Mr. Effendi in London, is this particular incident just an example of how large the rift is growing between the Partners for Peace, the SPLM and the NCP, and how serious is the situation becoming? As Dr. Mohammed just said there, you know, very little time left in the current parliamentary session to resolve all these issues.
Yeah, I think it's very serious, and the two partners should have gotten their act together and resolve this issue. They have been dragging their feet, both of them. And I think now, if it doesn't matter whether demonstrations are permitted or not, if there is a perception that election is not going to be held and is not going to be fair and free, there might be a breakdown of order in Khartoum and in the rest of the country, and maybe a return to civil war.
Mr. Atti, in Khartoum, are you concerned about the fact that parliamentary time is running out, less than 2 weeks to go, and if changes to election laws and the potential referendum in 2011 are not passed, there will be more instability in Sudan?
You know, actually, this SPLM is not in a position to press the National Assembly to endorse these acts, because they are apart from the Assembly, and I think that they have a chance to discuss this issue within the General Assembly. And I don't think that National Congress Party refused to discuss and to exchange opinions and views, as they had already resolved a lot of problems regarding a lot of acts, like the Press Act,
doesn't it put the comprehensive peace agreement signed in 2005 on shaky ground if you can't actually talk with your peace partner as such?
You know, actually, the delay was not from National Congress Party. The delay sometimes related to SPLM themselves. They delayed in so many issues. They delayed in the nomination of their members in different commissions, as mentioned in Comprehensive Peace Agreement, and they delayed in a lot of issues. I don't think that this is a mistake of National Congress Party, but now National Congress Party is ready, and they should push with their proposal of these acts to the National Assembly, and I don't think that this will take a time, but only I think that are showing and saying these reasons, but this is not the actual reason. The actual reason, they don't want election and they don't want to transform power peacefully, and because they think that they will lose a lot if the election is carried out.
Well, let's ask Dr. Mohammed. Do you agree with that, Dr. Mohammed, what you're hearing from Khartoum?
No, I don't agree. I disagree totally with the statement. And I think the issue is not between the SPLM and the Congress party. The issue is more than that. It is the issue of the whole Sudan. Election is not for the two partners. Election for all people of the Sudan. When we come to freedom, it is for all people of the Sudan. When it comes to referendum, it concerns all people of the South and the Sudan as well. When it comes to Darfur, so the issues which we are talking about, it is not the issue between the two partners. If it is just between the two partners, there is no point for me or the other people to talk, or even for the Jazeera to talk. So that is the most important thing. I think the point we want to make, that the speaker from Khartoum is talking that in 2 weeks there is no problem, everything can happen. I think that is not the way to deal with the issues like the elections. Now we are talking about 4 months or 5 months to the elections. We cannot talk that the laws are not, and we are on the eve of the referendum, and we don't know about the laws about the referendum. I think that is not the way we deal with the issues.
Mr. Effendi in London, hearing what both our speakers are saying now, is there a worry, or what sort of analysis can you give us if no agreement or no movement forward is seen in Parliament? Does that allow then the current government to impose the status quo and allow the law to stay as it is, therefore possibly, potentially creating more chaos on the streets of Sudan?
No, they cannot. I think the whole country now is waiting for the elections, and this current government has been given a mandate out of the peace agreement, and its agreement with the SPLA. So all political forces and the international community and everybody else are giving the government the benefit of the doubt, and the Sudanese people, and they are waiting for a fair and free election which will give the people a right to say who they want and who they choose to govern, both locally and regionally. And if at the moment, I think, regardless of what Dr. Al-Haj said, it is now between the SPLA and the NCP, because they are the main partners in the peace agreement.
But isn't there a danger here that we're hearing, certainly from SPLM, that perhaps playing a dangerous game, being a partner in peace along with the current government as such, but also giving the impression with their statements and their moves that they're actually part of the opposition too? Can they really have their cake and eat it?
Yes, they can, because it is, as I said, this arrangement is temporary. This arrangement is transitional. It's up to the parties to decide that what they do after the transition. But I think the danger is in what's happening. I think the government or the NCP wants to make the referendum law stricter so as to make the chances of unity greater. But it might create the opposite effect, because if it is seen as trying to restrict the right of the people of the South in exercising self-determination, that might make them even more angry and more keen to have separation, to support separation. So I think that people need to think carefully about what they do.
How carefully are the government thinking about what's going on, Mr. Atti, at the moment in Khartoum? How concerned are they about the impasse in Parliament and the demonstrations on the streets?
You know, actually, it is very important to mention that these issues displayed by SPLM and the allied forces, according to Juba Conference, these are not the actual reasons for their demonstration. Actually, there is no any relationship between what they are asking for and the election. The Election Act already approved approved by them and approved by National Congress Party and the other parties contributing in the Government of National Unity. The Press also Act approved and endorsed by the National Assembly. I don't think that what they are speaking about have any relationship with the election, because now all the acts of freedom are approved. And we have now enough time for discussing and exchanging views about the referendum and to pave the way between the two partners, SPLM and National Congress Party. That is why I don't think that they are now intending to make processions, peaceful processions, for these reasons. But they have other reasons. I don't think that they have confidence for the coming election, and they feel that they will not win the election. That is why they want to put obstacles and to impede the election to be carried out in the coming April 2010.
So, Mr. Mohammed, there is no confidence in the opposition parties that they'll be able to make any progress in the upcoming elections, and that's why you're creating such disorder in Sudan.
Let us not deceive ourselves. People are talking about two partners. They signed the CPA. It is not two partners, it is one party. 52% is more than 28%. So that is a majority. So I am not saying that it is two parties. It is, from the beginning, it is only one party. The other thing also, people are talking now about the referendum and whether there is unity or disunity or separation. But when we see what had happened yesterday and the way we are the government or the other partner is tackling the problems, who is going to vote for unity with such circumstances? If we have seen these people are jailed and you have seen the talk and everything, I think what we are heading to is just nobody is going to cater for unity. Unity is not appealing. Unity is not at all something which is somebody can, by the circumstances I have seen, nobody is going to opt for unity, because there is no liberty there, and the way the government behaved or the party behaved is totally against what any partner can support this government. So these are the realities. I am not talking about perceptions. We have to talk about realities, okay. And that is the most important.
Mr. Mohammed, in London, if that's the case and nobody's going to vote for unity under these perceptions or realities, as we're hearing from Bonn, the realities are there are some issues that can't be ignored or brushed under the carpet and form part of the election manifestos for all of the parties, and that will be the oil revenues, how the border demarcation, if it ever happens between North and South, will happen, and certain clashes that we've seen in the past 2 years in Abyei. They're all raising the stakes in what is a very sensitive situation, area of the world. Can any of these issues be resolved before, well, certainly the elections in April?
I think the issues which are awaiting resolution are the referendum laws, Abyei, and the security laws, and freedom of assembly and the media. And I think maybe Mr. Abdul-Ati is right in one thing when he says that some of the parties involved in these demonstrations are not interested in the elections or in the laws. That's correct. The opposition, or layers of the opposition, has got two components. The SPLA, which wants to put pressure to pass the laws, especially the referendum laws and the Abyei laws, and the wider opposition, whom we heard some of their slogans calling for October, which means a revolution to topple the government. But that's, on the other hand, I think he is wrong to say that these issues do not have a reflection on the elections, because I think exactly what the government did yesterday, when members of the parliaments cannot demonstrate peacefully, and those people who have, then how can you hold elections when political parties cannot hold rallies, cannot move about without getting permission from the police, which is under the control of one ruling party? So they have to ask the ruling party, actually, to give its competitors the freedom to move. I don't think that will be a fair election in that case. So it is about the election.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with him that these parties don't want the elections. They want the elections, but they want the elections to be free and fair, which is what it's all about, I think.
Indeed. And let's just listen in to what some of the opposition leaders have been saying. Hassan al-Darbi has also been speaking, as has the Secretary-General of the SPLM, Pangan Amom.
Despite them bringing in police forces and closing down roads, we managed to express our will. This is just the beginning of a very long road until we extract all our rights and reach peace and stability in Sudan.
Fighting talk there from Pangan Amom as well. And of course, Hassan al-Turabi is also an opposition leader. He's told his supporters to mobilise and get ready for a fight with the government.
Because of those in the government who are obstructing the political life in our country, opposition leaders have to resume their active role and be at the forefront of the protests. Dialogues and consultations have become useless means in dealing with the government.
Mr. Atti, as part of the 2005 Comprehensive Peace Agreement, it was agreed about the freedom of press, the freedom to gather for political protest. It seems that is being curtailed as far as the opposition are concerned. What's your answer or what's your response to those accusations?
You know that actually, according to the CPA, Comprehensive Peace Agreement, and the interim constitution, people are allowed for free gathering and for to move and to travel. But actually, the freedom to move and to travel and the move of press needs some actually formalities. The people who wants to practice this freedom, they should follow the formalities and complete their procedure. For example, if you want to travel...
As Mr. Effendi said, it's very difficult to do that when control or permission can only be granted by the ruling party itself.
Now, the ruling party is not the authority. Actually, we have an authority, we have a governor, and I think that whenever you want to get to travel abroad, you should obtain a passport and you should obtain the visa, and you cannot travel like that, haphazardly like that. Also, I think if you want to practice and to exercise something which is your freedom to move or to demonstrate, also you have to approach the authorities and to get the license. It is not enough to only to have permission or to inform the police. This is only implementation of law by hand, which is something illegal, and there is no any respected government in the world which allow such act to be exercised by an individual or a party. Okay. This is what I think about.
Okay, and Mr. Effendi, just your final thought then, really, with what you've heard both from Bonn and from Khartoum. And it seems the impasse will remain for some time, and I think the next 2 weeks are going to be quite vital for the Sudanese Parliament. Is there any point in third-party mediation? Is there another country or a former president from the continent that could come in and, you might say, try and knock heads together? The US, perhaps, or even Saudi Arabia?
Well, it's already happening. I think, first of all, I think what the people need from these two partners is to actually not give us headaches and try to appear on the media all the time to complain about each other, but to sit down in closed rooms and resolve their differences. And I think at the moment, the US presidential envoy, Scott Grayson, and I think Mr. Thabo Mbeki, the former South African president, I think he's arriving in Khartoum this weekend. All these people are trying to broker and have been working hard in the last few months to try to get these partners to talk to each other. I think that's probably the way ahead.
Well, we shall see exactly what happens in the coming days and in certainly the coming weeks. To my guests in London, Bonn and Khartoum, thank you very much for joining us on this edition of Inside Story. Thank you for your time. And thank you for watching this edition of the programme. We do welcome your comments and suggestions. Please do feel free to email us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. I'm Sahil Rahman. Thanks for your time and your company.